Welcome back to Ballboy Media. I'm LJ, and today we're going to be talking about the Orlando Magic and their bright future, along with any potential moves that they might look to make at this year's NBA trade deadline. If you're new here, please leave a like and subscribe, and comment down below who's a player you'd like to see in a Magic uniform. Thank you for all the support, and I appreciate it as we move forward into the NBA's trade deadline, which is this upcoming Thursday, February 6th. So, let's get right into it. The Orlando Magic are currently 24, and they lost last night, so they're 24 and 25. They are sixth in the Eastern Conference. Despite the returns of Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner, they're just in a little bit of a rut right now. It's been tough to get wins for this team. Jalen Suggs also did not play last night, and he's been out for an extended period of time. So overall, Paulo Banchero has missed 34 of 49 games. Franz Wagner has missed 20 of 49. And Jalen Suggs has missed 13 of 49. Obviously, that's not optimal because these are all players who, due to the injuries that their team has, been tasked with, have had bigger roles. And we've seen career highs across the board from these players. Paulo Banchero is averaging career high 23.9 points and 7.9 rebounds, albeit in a short period of time, but he's still balling. Franz Wagner, a career high 24.7 points per game. He really was playing at almost an all-NBA level, definitely an all-star level, at the time of his injury. Jalen Suggs missed 13 games, but he's, when he plays, he's averaging 16.2 points per game, which is, a career high for him. And on top of that, he had a couple good showings in the in-season tournament, which is something you'd like to see from a guy who it was debated whether or not he could score back in the day. So it's really inspiring to see him. The team also went 47 and 35. They were the, first round team that everyone was a little curious about. Maybe they could make a run. Unfortunately, they lost in 7 games to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Last thing, they're also without Mo Wagner. He tore his ACL, unfortunately, and he's out for the season. He was a 6th Man of the Year candidate, and unfortunately, they are without him and now Suggs for an extended period of time. Now, in terms of their salary cap situation, they have the 4th most in the NBA at, roughly negative $10 million, which, listen, that might seem like, they're $10 million under, but in today's league, everyone is except the Pistons. They have, projected next year, they're projected to be over the first apron, they're projected to be $3.4 million over, which is definitely, if they don't want to be in that range, they can definitely get under that. They have the means to do it. One thing to note, too, with this team is they have Franz, Paulo, and Jalen Suggs all locked up long-term. So in terms of their big three for the future, they have them all on long-term contracts, and the core of this team has been extended moving forward. So this is the Magic's multi-year salary cap table, and I'm just going to talk about that real quick. As you can see, the biggest allocation for this season is Jonathan Isaac, who his contract, guaranteed $25 million next year and 25 this year, and 15 next year, and then after that it becomes non-guaranteed. So a good deal from the Magic, and that is a tool that they can utilize moving forward. Obviously, Isaac has had health issues of his own, but when he's on the court, we see him to be a dominant defender. He does have some offensive questions that are raised when watching his game, but on defense, he's just, incredible. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Now, KCP obviously hasn't had the best season, and we'll get into that later. But, they had money to spend, and I think that they still made the right move despite his shortcomings to start the season. I believe that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is integral to this team. He is making $22 million this year and about $22 next year, and then he has a player option for the third year in 2027. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that deal. They also have Cole Anthony on the books for $12.9 million, and I stand corrected, I misspoke. I said that Paulo was locked up long term. He currently is not, but when you really look at it, there's just no way that he's not signed to a long-term deal. Unless something goes south, I would expect completely for him to be locked up on a max contract. As you can see, Suggs already has been. On top of that, Wendell Carter Jr. locked up for multiple years. Jalen Suggs, as I said. Goga Batadze, who's been playing a great role for this team. Then you have Anthony Black, still on, I believe this is his 2nd year. Just a lot of good players, a lot of good young talent. Tristan Da Silva in the first year of his rookie contract. He's been giving him good minutes. And this is from Sportrack.com. Thank you so much to all the people that work there. Now, this team has a very bright future. They are, I think one of, if not the only team in the NBA to possess the rights to all of their draft picks and they have favorability on all of them. They have their own pick every single year in the first and second round until 2031. This season they have Denver's first round pick, which is protected 1 through 5. Then next year they have the swap rights to the least favorable of Phoenix and Washington's pick. So that is definitely, let's say this Phoenix situation turns around poorly, and even next season we start to see signs of, collapse. And I'm not quite certain Washington is going to be a contending team based on their record this season. So let's say both of those picks are in the teens. That's just another great pick. And, if you're Orlando, I'd expect them to be picking very low next season because I think they're going to be very successful when everyone's back. They have all that. They also have a couple second-round picks that don't belong to them. They have, in 5 of the 7, years, they have a new second-round pick coming in that is not their own. And then they also have swap rights with New Orleans, which, as you tend to get into the nitty-gritty of second-round picks, that's really not that valuable, but still an asset to them, to be honest. And we've seen an MVP get taken in the second round. They also, have proven an ability to really bring up players in a good defensive scheme. And with injuries, we've seen different people step up, and I believe that is going to be very helpful for them moving forward as they look to contend for an NBA championship in the near future. Anthony Black is a good example of that. He's averaging 9.3 points per game and 3.5 assists, and he just seems to get better on defense each time I watch him. And then Trevelin Queen, I think, is exemplary of the Magic and how good they are as an organization. He is on a two-way contract, and he, to me, is one of the best two-way contracts in recent NBA history. We've seen him have good games. He really carried, a good load on offense against Boston in a win earlier in the season. Just a bright future overall for this team. Now, I feel like with the trade deadline, there's two routes that Orlando can go down. They can either stand pat, as I said, they're one of two teams with control of all their picks until 2031, and they have the second best defense in the league by scoring, not too shabby, or they could look to acquire a scoring guard. I feel like that would increase their potential mightily and really raises their floor. I think their floor right now is pretty low considering that there's times where they're struggling to score 100 points, which you cannot expect to do and win consistently in today's NBA with the three-point revolution that we are in the midst of. They're also the lowest scoring team in the NBA. Now, just some notes I have written down here. There is reason to believe that this team can be competitive without making any additions, and I agree that they definitely can be. You reason that their defense is top 3 in the league at worst. They got off to a 15-7 start, which is a 58-win pace, and you'll be okay to win some playoff games. I think they could definitely pull off an upset should they be able to coast into the playoffs. However, the scoring is definitely a concern. They're averaging, roughly 105 points per game, which is the worst in the league. They're averaging less than Brooklyn, who is obviously tanking, and which means they're averaging less than teams like Washington and Charlotte. These are teams that, when you look at the standings, they're at the bottom, and Orlando is not at the bottom, and they're under all of them. Now, you might say, LJ, look at the stats and tell me, what's the difference between when no one's playing and when Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner are playing. Unfortunately, this is where the alarm bells started going off in my head, because when Banchero plays, they average 105 even, and that's still last in the league. And then when Franz Wagner plays, they're averaging 107.1, which is 28th in the league. Not optimal either way. They're 28th in field goal percent, 30th in three-point shooting. And, I just feel like you have to look at a couple other factors when considering what you want to do with the deadline. Tristan da Silva is giving them more than they could have asked for. He's averaging 8 points per game, but his impact on the game is so much more. He's a do-it-all type of player. Now, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, as I said, I'd still defend the signing. He is only averaging 9.2 points per game, which is his lowest since 2014. And the real reason you use his cap space on him, if you're Orlando, is that three-point shooting. This season, he's shooting 31.4% from beyond the arc, which is a career low. If I'm them, I might say, okay, maybe Kentavious Caldwell-Pope benefits more if we add a scoring guard and a guard that, as well as scoring, can facilitate the rock, maybe find him open in better positions, knock that three-point shooting up. I just think that ultimately, while they may stand pat at this deadline, they're going to make a move for a scoring guard in the near future. Now, this is the guard market, and I have 4 guys headlined here. So Dennis Schroeder is the first one, and Dennis Schroeder, I think, is kind of an obvious one, but then at the same time, I'm not quite sure. This season, he's averaging 15 and 6. However, these numbers are greatly reduced since joining the Golden State Warriors. I just don't think he's a great fit there from what we've seen so far. The main reason you acquire Schroeder is because of his German ties with the Wagner brothers. They, finished fourth in the Olympics this year and won gold at the FIBA World Cup a couple of years ago. The concern with him, it would be that the three-point shooting is a little on and off. He shot 38.7% from three while he was with Brooklyn and is only at 30.8% with Golden State. Colin Sexton's the next guy I have down. He's averaging 18.6 points per game on good shooting. He is, taking a career high 4.7 three-pointers, career best 41.4% from the field. We've seen his volume start to trickle up from three, and it's really being a good part of his game. Sexton, I feel like, can score from all three levels and would definitely be a better budget option for Orlando. Then if you want to start swinging some picks around, I think Anthony Simons is the play. He's an ethical hooper and a Florida native. Proven volume scorer, averaging 37.8 from three on 8.7 attempts the last 3 seasons. So we've seen him be consistently great from beyond the arc. The other thing with Simons, I feel like he might have a little Jalen Brunson in him, in the way that when he moves to a good team where he's the focal point, I think he can definitely contribute a lot more. And then kind of the final guy, the guy that I think they're, definitely less likely to acquire, but would be, winning the lottery for them if they were able to score him, is De'Aaron Fox. Now, Fox, it has been implied that he wants to go to San Antonio, but I think he would definitely be a good fit in Orlando. Although he, doesn't really have the three-point volume that Simons does, he is an all-star caliber player. He's made an all-NBA team. He's just another proven guy. He'd be the, just look at the starting lineup, and De'Aaron Fox is just better than the 5 they have out there right now. So this is what a Dennis Schroeder trade package would look like. It would definitely be something centered around Cole Anthony. They're making roughly the same amount of money. And the Warriors, mind you, have to give up more money in a deal than they're taking back due to salary restrictions. These deals are even, and they're also giving up a couple second-round picks, which is kind of comparable to what Golden State gave to Brooklyn to acquire Schroeder in the first place. This is what a Colin Sexton trade package would look like. I feel like you do have to surrender some sort of asset higher than a first-round pick. Jet Howard definitely still has potential. He has, proven at times to be able to hit the three. But for a team like Orlando, you need to see that now. So you're kind of in not win now mode, but moving towards winning in the present day. They're also giving up Denver's first round pick, which I would expect to be mid-20s this season. This is, a little steeper, and that's the Anthony Simons trade package. You're giving up Howard and Anthony again. This time, however, you're throwing on Corey Joseph. The salaries are not even, but still works out financially and from all the restrictions, and it's not making that much of an impact, and you're saving the Trailblazers a lot of money by making this deal. You're also giving them that Denver pick as well as their first round pick in the next year. The reason I'm giving up their first round pick next year is because after this league year, the 2032 first round pick will be available, so they will be able to trade 28, 30, and 32. This is what you're looking at for a De'Aaron Fox trade package. In this deal, I have them giving up Isaac, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to match the salaries, and Anthony Black, a promising young guard, as well as 4 first-round picks of their own, one of which is top 5 protected in 2031, and Denver's first-round pick this year for Fox and Herter. Again, I think this is very unlikely to happen, but, just fun to imagine. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as I said, and comment down below a player you'd like to see on Orlando. I personally would love to see Anthony Simons. I think he's a player they can acquire without moving a lot of their assets, and I think it'd be very interesting come playoff time. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next episode.